or as I call you, my little chalupas. Thank you very much for tuning in today. It is 6 p.m. Eastern Time, which means it's time for Rupert on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. I'm super excited because we have a special guest today. We've had to work very hard to get this guest here. Just pretty much everything that could possibly go wrong when scheduling a guest has happened, and broken YouTube links and miscommunications aside. The next voice that you will hear on my radio program here will be the voice of Sean Stone. We've seen him on Buzzsaw. You see him on YouTube. Seems like a really nice guy. So without further ado, what's up, man?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How was Easter?
Easter was very chill. I mean,
Nice.
I'm not like a Catholic or anything like that, but obviously I enjoy a holiday when I can celebrate it. But yeah, obviously, they say it's really a pagan holiday, going back to Ishtar, which is basically like Isis, worship from the Middle East. So who knows the origin of these holidays? But like I said, it's nice to it's always nice to have a break and family time.
Definitely. So this radio show is really just I've seen some of the other interviews that you've done, and people kind of like put you in the hot seat. My thing was, we all know who you are. But we don't know anything about you. So I decided to try to throw my hat in the ring and see if I couldn't like find out a little bit about you. So we'll talk movies and productions and talking on camera and stuff like that. Real chill. Everybody listening at home, grab a drink, sit down. It's gonna be a conversation. Nothing. I know I got a lot of emails like, "Hey, ask him this. Hey, ask him that," and I'm like, "Hey, how about not?" Like, nah. We're just gonna chill and talk movies and stuff. So who is?
I was curious what kind of questions you were like. No, I'm not going to ask him that.
All right. Well, I mean, man, I didn't think we were going to even talk. We're already talking about it, only a few minutes in. Okay. There was something about Islam. There was some people talking about this and your affiliation with that, which is no one's business. And then there was also that you may visit a Masonic lodge, and I've grown, like, I got Masons in the family. I lived with a Mason when I was in Florida. I used to hang out at their lodge. Like, it's not all creepy, folks. I don't know about any of that with you, but that's what people were like. More than one person asked me about both of those things, and I was like, "You guys, what do you think? I'm just gonna have the dude onto the show and just in his face, like what?" But that's what people were asking me about.
But that's okay. I mean, I got no problem talking if wherever you want to take it. These things are known about me, and it's, how do you say? It's up to people to decide for themselves what they make of it.
Yeah, well, or just mind their own business. But if they want to make your business their business, I guess. So let's just go back. Let's go back. We'll get to that. Let's go back in time here.
Yeah.
First of all, who is Sean Stone? Like, who are you? We see you on Buzzsaw, but how did you get there? Like, what? It seems like you're into a niche that a lot of us are into. So, who are you? What kind of a life do you have, and how did you end up doing Buzzsaw and that kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm. Well, you're just baiting me now because you obviously know a lot about my backstory.
I mean, you go on IMDb or Wikipedia and look you up, and then just bring up videos of you and stuff like that. I mean, I didn't go super creeper on you, but you do have to prep for these things a little bit. You can't come in half stepping. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So. I mean, obviously people can see me on Buzzsaw, which is an online interview program, Watching the Hawks, which is a nightly news show on RT that is broadcast internationally. Done a few films, including Greystone Park as a director. Was in movies like Savages, and more recently we're releasing a film called Paranormal Activity Security Squad online, and Union Bound, which is a Civil War film coming out April 22nd in select theaters in cities across the country. So I guess, yeah, I'm in different places. As far as your question on how did I get to Buzzsaw, that was very much a path that, just to go back, was through Conspiracy Theory, which is a show that Jesse Ventura used to host. If some people
I think you're friends with his kid, right?
So Tyrell Ventura, his son, was my co-host on Conspiracy Theory for the third season. He's my co-host on Watching the Hawks, the RT show that we do together. And he was a co-founder of Buzzsaw with me. So yeah, I mean, we've been working together since Conspiracy Theory.
That's kind of a neat team up there. I was like, yeah, that's two guys that should be playing basketball together.
We're both very tall, but
oh yeah. That's
better basketball.
Oh man, I was going to challenge you to a game of hoops, so I'll have to bring my A game in. Well. So let's go for some super softball questions. What kind of tunes did you listen to when you were in high school?
That's an interesting question. So I grew up in high school. My high school years were 98 to 2002. And so, I guess at that time I was very much into hip hop. Actually, hip hop was more of my music than like rock or other genres. And as a guy who loved hip hop, I was really into Tupac. Still love Tupac, but I would say high school was more like DMX was really hot at that time. Loved his music. I was into Jay-Z at that point. I actually went to the Hard Knock Life tour that he did with Method Man, Redman, DMX. That was a great tour. So I was very much into hip hop at the time. Now I think I saw the transition actually going in that direction by 2002, but now I find it very corporate, very almost obnoxious as far as the lyrics are concerned, not socially conscious at all. What I loved about hip hop at the time, from the 90s era, coming out of the 80s, was all this the idea of messages coming from the streets, coming from people's experiences, real life stories, and then it lost that soul in a sense, and became, to me, a way of selling a tool for selling people on cars, jewels, girls. You watch the music videos as the music videos started to just become commercials, basically advertisements. So I lost interest in hip hop, frankly. There's still occasionally some good songs and whatnot, but I don't see that level of great artists like Nas and obviously I mentioned Tupac, Public Enemy, Method Man and Redman, and just these great art, and Wu-Tang Clan in general. These great artists that were coming out of the 90s. I think they're probably there, but you just don't see it as much in the mainstream media.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir there. Total hip hop head over here. Totally. So that's kind of cool. I can kind of hear you hiding your gangster a little bit when you talk. Like I have this feeling like you can actually probably speak really fluent street. See, yeah, you can. You don't have to do it now though. I was gonna do it at you, but that would just
in the right.
Yeah.
Context,
well, if you have to defend yourself, well, see, those kind of accents, if you pull it out in the right, like you said, in the right context, if you pull it out at the right time, it's a way of indicating level of knowledge, where you're from, how agitated you might actually be. There's a lot you can say with just switching up the way you talk.
Mm-hmm.
So that I guess goes into acting. So let's talk about that a little bit. When I went through your IMDb, I found some really some little like Easter eggs, little Sean Stone Easter eggs that popped up there. You were in Natural Born Killers. How cool is that? You were the kid with
cool
your face painted.
It's cool, exactly. It's cool now because I realized I had the Kiss makeup on.
Yeah.
And the Clockwork Orange makeup, which all that stuff was kind of creepy at the time.
Yeah.
The whole movie is creepy, frankly. I don't know. I was 10. And
right.
In that scene with Rodney Dangerfield was awesome. He was great.
Wow.
And yet, there's this whole undertone of molestation going on between the father and daughter. And I remember my dad was giving Rodney lines, and he's like, they're reading through it, and he's saying, and I'm going to come upstairs, and you're not going to see my face for an hour. And he's talking to Juliette Lewis. And Rodney looks at me, and he's like, I can't say this in front of your son.
Yeah, right?
My dad goes, he doesn't know what you're talking about anyway. And it's true, I really didn't.
That's really funny. So,
really had
like,
no
when you
clue
would...
what we're talking about.
That's really funny. When you would go to a set like that, would you just spend the days there that you were shooting, or were you like, kid running around on set?
Well, I was both. I mean, how do you say it? in terms of like, yeah, going up till about, yeah, going through Natural Born Killers, I actually got to hang out on set. It wasn't as much because I was then in like fourth grade, and so that's when you couldn't miss that much school at that point. But until that point, on films like JFK, Heaven and Earth, Born on the Fourth of July, I was at the doors. Like I was going to the set for sometimes like a month at a time. Like we went to Thailand. I got like a month off school or something. Just had a tutor, but I think I spent at least like a month in Thailand on Heaven and Earth. So I was very much on set every day. At that time, my parents were still together. Once they divorced, it was harder. So when they were together, my mom would do the photography on set. Like she was just taking still pictures behind the scenes. So I would run around with her and just, have fun and love, seeing movies as, to me at that time, it was like a playground, right?
This is so cool. This is totally why I wanted to have you on.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much fun when you're young, you just look at it like it's a playground. You put on these costumes, and if you're acting, whatever, you put on a costume, you say some lines, and that can get boring. Frankly, you have to do the same thing over and over, repeat the action, say the line again, different angle. That takes time. And JFK definitely was tough because it was so hot, and you had to wear these like, I think was it a cotton or a wool suit? It was probably cotton, but it was just it was like a cotton suit in the South in Louisiana in summertime. It was sweltering. And you're doing these courtroom scenes that are like lasting all day, and I'm not really speaking. I'm just kind of sitting there looking on as part of the audience. So
I remember
that was tough. that was not fun to be in. Yeah, ultimately, it's like you're a kid that doesn't understand that movie making is a work, how you say it's work. It's just at that point it's just play. It's just really cool, and I loved it when I was young. Also, the film, like the war films too. I mean, being in the Philippines during Platoon and Platoon less I remember because I was young, but especially Born on the 4th of July, you kind of just get this.
Uh-oh. Did we lose somebody? Uh-oh. Maybe we lost Sean there for a second. Maurice, you can pop in my ear and let me know what's going on with that if you want to. This is okay. That's fine. We'll just vamp here for a second. This is really fun, actually. I didn't know that we would get to hear all this cool stuff. Like he was on the set of Platoon in the Philippines. How cool is that? Yeah, but this is he didn't care about talking about the Islam or the Masonic stuff either. But like, guys, I know you're gonna say that I'm bad and this is bad. Not every doctor is a. Is it? Hang on. There's somebody at the door. We'll make this. I got it. We'll make this part of the. I'm on the. You are the best. Thank you. Somebody just brought me 2 huge slices of cake. Look at that. Could you ask for something nicer than that? Yeah. Who knows what happened to Sean? But we like that little bit right there was awesome in and of itself. I hope we can get him back there. He's buffering again. Somebody just came and brought me. What are these? Let me taste this. I don't know if you heard the knock on the door. Oh my goodness gracious. Look at that. That is beautiful. I don't think I can eat that right now, but that's great. Okay, so well, I hope we can get this cat back on. It's usually on my end that's had problems, but we have had problems like this, let me tell you, the entire time I've been trying to get him up. It's just not just scheduling stuff or YouTube links being broken, but this sort of thing. Where, just there's no reason his thing shouldn't work. There's no reason he should be getting Skyped right now. That's what they call it. That's what Changed the Channel calls it. He was on the air the other night, and he kept getting Skyped. Sean Stone has been Skyped. They Skyped him. Now, who knows if that's just a fluke, but it's just so persistent. So absolutely persistent. And I have never been more desperate to finish a conversation with somebody in my entire life. I can't believe this is happening right now. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. All I want is for him to pop back on the air. Oh well, we can move along and cover some news in the meantime. I feel like that'd be shifting gears. Maybe this would be a good chance for me to talk about the movie JFK. The movie JFK is why I edit video. The opening montages. in the beginning, the way the movie's shot, the camera work, the editing, how tight it is. I love that movie so much. And then when it wasn't that long ago, I found out that Sean was actually in the movie. He's back now. Looks like he's got a check mark next to his name, and now he's gone again. So it honestly looks like somebody's messing with Sean's thing on his end. It does, because he just popped back up. Great. Well, we'll just keep waiting. He'll probably give us. We can always trim this part out of the rebroadcast and smooth the edges. But great 15-minute. There he is. There's a check mark again. Giving you the play-by-play here on Skype. We've got our special guest coming in. He's got a check mark next to his name. We're going to try to bring him into the call. Oh, God, and he disappears again. There's something weird going on. And I really honestly think that it's tinkering on somebody's end. Somebody doesn't want us talking.
Yeah.
There he is.
It's just weird. I just was talking, all of a sudden I couldn't hear anything, and my Skype was not responding. And it just.
Now I'm telling you, somebody like I'm not. Not. I was just saying, scheduling aside, it seems like there's some nefarious person doesn't want this conversation to happen.
Oh, screw him.
Yeah, screw him. So when you were in the Philippines, and you were on the set of Platoon. That's what I remember. That sounds so cool.
So exactly. So I was probably 6 months old, so it was more in my unconscious mind.
Right.
At the time, but born on the 4th of July, I was totally into this, and I loved the machinery of war, and I had this kind of romanticization of it at that point.
I still do.
Being a kid playing guns, and the opening scene of Bourne, actually, when the kids are all running around in the forest and they're shooting each other and they're playing, what kids used to play. We used to play guns. Nowadays, you probably get shot by a cop if you play guns or something. I don't even know if they sell them, but we used to play guns. So I was actually one of the kids in the opening of that sequence when we're all just running around in the forest and chasing each other, shooting each other, playing out war scenes. I mean, that's what it used to be like. Nowadays, I don't even know. Nowadays, the kids are on their iPhones at 2 years old, so I don't even know if they have physical experiences anymore.
They used to joke when we were kids, like if you couldn't work the VCR, like get the 9-year-old in here, because kids could just do it, and it was the truth. But it's like really on steroids now. I don't know if you've ever seen a child get the iPad taken away from them, but that's pretty. It's a shit show.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, it's like being grounded, or it's like being sent to your room and locked in there, and now it's just they take the iPad away and that's it.
Well, the internet is kind of my lifeblood. It's how I communicate with people. It's how I stay in touch with people. I use it for the same things everybody else does. And when my dad worked for the government. I became aware that he had run a line into the house. Probably, I don't know. It was probably in there 5 years before he told anybody. And then I remember getting it taken away at least once, and that feeling of disconnectedness, like, oh my God, all my friends on the internet relay chat are talking without me. I don't know. I digress. So, let's talk JFK, since that's really, that was kind of a big deal for me. It's kind of funny. You mentioned taking time off of school to go shoot JFK. I had to take time off school in first grade because my father had to go to Dallas. One of my first memories is tugging on my mom's dress, because we're standing in Dealey Plaza, and in the memory I come online and I'm tugging on my mom's dress, and I understand what they're talking about. I was a very lucid child, which was difficult for my parents, really, because I'd say anything, and they were talking to a man who was there that day, and they kept saying the words "shot the president, shot the president." I knew who the president was, but I didn't. I looked at him as some kind of god figure. I didn't think that was even possible. What do you mean they shot the president? And I finally get my mom's attention. I was like, what do you mean? I protested. You can't shoot the president. And all three adults pointed over. They were like, "Oh yeah, you can. It happened right over there." And when they said that, I of course believed them. And I had that, I don't know what you call it. Maybe you can tell me this. It's that shot where the person doesn't really seem to move, but the background goes. It's like a long lens, I guess. But my vision did that, and it freaked me out really bad. And then, I'm 14. The trailer for that movie comes out. My grandfather, who was a doctor, didn't really have interest in almost anything, but he mentioned he saw the trailer and pointed at the TV, and he's like, I'm watching that.
Mhm.
So then I wanted to watch it. So I eventually got my hands on it. I think it probably came on HBO, and I ripped it off of the VC. Sorry, you can apologize to whoever for
It's
that for me.
it's all right. It's the old way of doing it, man.
Right.
VHS. That's good.
That movie is, as I was saying, while the CIA was attacking you, the reason that I got interested in editing was that movie. The whole reason I started to pay attention to acting and to how to make a movie was that movie. And then and I start reading through the cast list, and I'm like, oh, that's you. You're little Jasper Garrison.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember, I don't know how many lines you had, but I remember the one. Well, it's funny. Sissy Spacek lives around here somewhere. Everybody's met her but me. But but she tells you to get out of the room, and you tell her that your father told you that it's okay if you stay if you're real quiet.
Yeah, Papa
But
says
you
that's right.
but you can tell in the line delivery there that you're just you're just a really sweet person, and it's I don't think that you got any of the roles you've gotten. I don't think you got them because of who your family is. I really think that you fit into that role so well.
In JFK, I mean, my dad still jokes because I couldn't get it right because I always call my dad Papa, and so
Okay.
and in the story, I think the line was Daddy. But if you listen to the character, my character goes back and forth between saying Daddy and Papa all the time. It's hilarious because I get so confused because as a kid, it's like I want to say Papa, but the script says Daddy. So literally inside of scenes within the line itself, I'll just say Daddy, Papa, like back and forth. And I'm sure my dad was very frustrated with me at the time. And to this day, actually, we joke about it. But the funny thing is, when Jared Leto was in Alexander, and we were talking at one point, he said, you were really good in JFK because you were just honest and pure. And I was like, that's the first time anyone I've ever heard that I was good in that film. 'Cause I never felt like I was good as an actor. I was really shy.
No, definitely, but I think that the shyness fit that role so well because I'm 5 years older than you. I told you this before. It's hard for me to believe that because you're markedly more mature than I am. That one line delivery, I just remember thinking that I didn't understand casting or anything like that. I didn't understand that you can just act like that wasn't something you had psyched yourself up to do. That's just what it was that day. That's what came out. But you said Jared Leto. So you've hung out with this individual? Like this guy?
Well, again, he was in Alexander, if you recall the film, with
Right, yes,
Colin
yes.
Farrell and Angelina Jolie. So, of course, I mean, I was shooting behind the scenes with my dad. Basically, like I was following him, my father, wherever, on all aspects of the film. I did the behind the scenes for the DVD. So both, how do you say, there's a traditional Warner Brothers release. Obviously, there have been 4 drafts of this film, I think, that have been released of Alexander. The first cut, the director's cut, the final cut, and Alexander Revisited. So, or revised. I don't know. There's little there, but there's 4 versions, and my dad just released his most recent version that he really loves, and it's on Blu-ray. And so for that one, there's an hour-and-a-half documentary called Fight Against Time, which I did based on my father's journey as a director within the context of what it is to be a director on a movie set, what he goes through on a daily basis, and then also talking a bit about reflecting upon his film arc and how Alexander fits into the Oliver Stone milieu, let's say, like because we've seen my dad do a lot of stories that deal with current events, or his own, let's say, history of the 20th century, what he lived from the end of World War II to the present day. Most of his films are set in that timeline. Actually, I think all of them are. But Alexander is the first one where he stepped out and went to this historical narrative. But if you kind of see hints of Alexander in other films. You see it in The Doors, for example, and there's other lines and things that hint at this notion of journeying to the East. Like my dad went to Vietnam, and that's why his Vietnam film. He did 3 Vietnam films, right? So there are elements of Alexander within other films my dad has made, and the other narrative that, including his book. He wrote a book called Child's Night Dream, of this kind of this idea of questing and the being in the image of these heroes and archetypes of the old world, right? The gods that each have to go and have to kind of explore mythology versus reality, right? What is the mythology of a god? Because that's what my dad's been dealing with, actually, as far as not just the gods, but mythology of history, right? When someone goes and does something, Alexander the Great was a tremendous historical figure, but he's almost better in mythology than he would be in real life. So we see that all the time. Kennedy's, there's mythology around JFK, right? And even the assassination. So we have to figure out what is the truth as opposed to the mythology. The Vietnam War, the nature of sports, and Any Given Sunday is an example of that. So many films that my dad's done, I guess, deal with this issue of mythology and try to deconstruct some of the myths to get to what he would consider the truth.
No, yeah, it definitely shaped the way that I looked at stuff. I mean, I'm 12 years old, 13 years old, and I'm going to school every day with a mild understanding that this is not what it's supposed to be. And that's a difficult thing to deal with. I almost wish I had waited till I was older to see the movie, because it definitely you take a story like JFK and you tell it from, almost give it the Howard Zinn treatment. You tell it from the people's perspective of the story, and it totally changes the context of the official story. And I think that same methodology, the way he dissected some of that stuff, has a lot to do with the way that people, not to use it as a verb, but the way people truth these days has a lot to do with that. Oh, well, wait a minute. Let's go back and see what the video says, or let's go back and see what this person said about it. But the reason I asked you about Jared Leto is that I'm known for my comedic dislike of him, but I wanted you to I wanted to give you a chance to vouch for the guy. Maybe I can just hang that bit up.
Well, I mean, again, and so, like, I'm friends with him. We hung out on Alexander, which was a great experience and a great time. But it's I don't really know any actor. At the end of the day, I'm not friends with actors per se. When you meet people on a film project. My dad would always put it like it's like a pirate ship. You get this band together of people, and you get on.
That's really funny.
Together, and it's true. You sail together, and you're in search of, you're questing for some end destination, and you work together at that point, and it becomes like a family. And I remember very clearly when, the first time I had that realization of how close people were on a film set was during Born on the 4th of July, and I was like 4 years old, and at the end of that shoot, all of a sudden, these people that we'd spent every day with for 3-4 months were gone. So you walk out to that location the next day, and everyone's gone home, packed up, and it's like, all right, the ship reached its port, and now everyone disbanded. All the pirates broke up and went their different ways to share in their loot, and you're left just with the nostalgia of this great expedition that you would experience together.
Yeah, I kind of am working towards experiencing that post-show, like that rap party, then desolation afterward. Like I want part of that to be part of my life. Like that, you describing it, I'm romanticizing it in my head as you're describing it. And you were talking about war. It's funny you mentioned Platoon and Born on the 4th of July. I think it was like, you know how you've done more than I have, but every time you make something, you learn something. There's always a spot in there you wish you could have done better or something like that. And then you go back and look at it at the end, and it's like, yeah, this is what it is. Then you go back and watch somebody else's stuff, and you start picking it apart. And I almost have lost the ability to even watch them. Well, Deadpool was really good, but it's did you like that?
I haven't seen it, honestly.
I'll send you a link.
No.
Oh no! Wait, I'm sorry. I forgot who I'm talking to. Sorry. You're gonna get in trouble, like some kind of SAG thing. But anyway, I watched Predator, right? Yeah. And I was like, I really liked it, and I was like, well, what is it that I really was enjoying the escapism of this? And I was like, it's not the alien because you don't even see the alien and there's no lore about it. It's just them running around. That movie could have been 10 minutes long, but the
Mm.
the thing I realized was it was the war thing. It was like the guys dropped off out in the jungle, holding a gun, running around shooting stuff. So I
Yeah,
started on
it's
this
like
tear of like
I always saw like GI Joe when I was a little kid.
yeah, that was awesome.
I thought it was like a GI Joe movie.
Sweet. Yeah, I still
Yeah.
kind of think about it like that, but it's not, when you go back and listen to stories. But I started watching all these war movies, and that's really just consumed me. I'm still in the process of understanding World War II and World War One and all that stuff, and it's a very interesting point in history.
Mm.
But I thought for a while I wanted to be in a war, but really what it was that I wanted to do was sit around in the woods with my friends wearing a helmet, smoking pot, and carrying guns. Like that's really the part of it that I like. I don't like the thought of like shooting at somebody or getting shot at. It doesn't sound
That's
very much like
exactly the
very fun.
truth. That's the truth, man. It's like
Yeah.
I think war is how do you say there's like a romance around it that we really got to kill, which is that we have to kill it in our hearts that that it's glorious to go off and shoot some other kid who's the same age as an knucklehead just like you are and really is just born in the wrong in a different part of the world. At the end of the day, the rulers of all of us are the real enemy, and we have to look not necessarily using force and violence against them, but just recognizing where the true enemy is. It's much closer to home than we realize.
Other than it being a moneymaker, the other thing that that war provides is a theater for psychotic people like giant walking pieces of meat who might otherwise need to be in prison or something. It gives them something to do. And that's one thing that I think is good about it, but those are about the only two things, and even the money that comes in isn't it's not clean. It's dirty.
What do you mean the money?
War money, the war complex. The what, I don't know, $500 billion they're spending a year now.
Exactly, exactly.
But we could explore
Closer, closer to a trillion than not.
yeah, yeah. That's just we could all be eating steak. No, wait. Let's eat something that's not been alive. We could all be eating wheatgrass every day.
Drinking. There you go.
But yeah, that's something that I think people's affinity for you and for Buzzsaw comes from the knowledge that you have of the rulers of the world. So let's just kind of do a in the moment gut check. Where are we with that? I feel like we kind of lost the battle of 9/11 somewhere around 2007 or 8 when they got to smear the conspiracy theory label on everybody. Where do you think we are now, and where do you think they are in their plot?
Uh-oh. Uh
This is
Jeez.
an opinion question. You could be totally wrong. It's fine to be wrong in this, and I'll give an opinion too if you want, so we could both be sitting in our wrongness.
Why don't you just give your opinion first, since you obviously asked the question, so you got something in your head. So
Maybe way to flip it around on me there, Danny Duberstein. Let's see. I feel like they're kind of like we're Rocky, and they're that. What was that big blonde guy's name? They're like tiring themselves out.
Drago. Drago.
Yeah, 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 that guy. Like he's got a really strong front punch, but after a while he starts to tucker out. And we Americans are tough. Like we do come from tough people, and I think that's what's going on. Is that the longer we can keep something from, because people pick on people like Alex Jones for being maybe like a Chicken Little kind of, but really,
Yeah.
if you think
The
about it,
sky's
they
falling.
pay. But yeah, the sky's falling. But how many times has he kept the sky from falling? We just don't know about it because they were like, "Oh, well, we can't do that because he said so beforehand." So guess scrap that.
You're saying Alex is he's Superman, huh?
I wouldn't know, man. I wouldn't go that far. I've heard some pretty interesting things about the cat recently, and in fact, came across some lost tapes of a not a fun rant, an angry rant, which may see the light of day at some point. But I didn't want to make the show about him. He gets enough. He gets enough coverage. He does a good. I want a contest. I want an Infowars video contest using uh, JFK style jump editing sort of thing, kind of like Change the Channel does, and when he puts something up, it gets views, man. People even my piddly little crap will get like what 10,000 views in a day or something. It's ridiculous.
Ah,
And your view count is pretty formidable as well. Good job on that.
uh, it just depends on the guests. I think, to be honest with you, some
Yeah,
guests.
tell me about it. Why do you think you're over here right now?
Well, I mean, it just how do you say? Buzzsaw itself as a show doesn't have the kind of viewership that Alex gets. I mean, he's a trend. He's a trailblazer. He really established, I think, the alternative, the success of the alternative media in a way. Him and a few others were able to really trailblaze Project Camelot, shows like programs like that. And so Buzzsaw comes along, and frankly, we're not huge. We do get some videos. Some of our guests get a lot of views on YouTube. But the problem too is that we're still in this realm. We talk about what the ruling elite is trying to do still, and we're still in a place where too many people pay attention to the mainstream news, to whether it's in anything that plays on a TV program, let's say, that is establishment in any capacity, that has the CNN or the New York Times brand on it. People give that more credence, or Fox News, doesn't matter. That's a problem. We can't keep looking to the exterior for truth and for our solutions. We have to come into our intuition, into ourselves, if we're going to figure out what's going on. But maybe, most people don't really care about truth. Maybe that unfortunately may be the case.
Well, some people like fear porn and sensationalism, and I have a penchant for that too. Like sometimes I go, like, I want a video to make me think that the whole place is about to go down tomorrow, because it's just kind of it's nice to have that finite feeling. It keeps you humble. Like you don't want to feel like you're not culpable for your actions, or like you're gonna live forever. I feel like that, and people feed into that, and some people get. I've seen well, there's something called trypophobia. I think I'm saying that right. I have it. My father has it. It's do you know about this?
No, what is it?
It's like, I don't know, man. It's something weird. It's actually, doctors are attributing it to some kind of a caveman like instinct to dig or to defend or something. But the sight of clusters of small holes, especially as it pertains to anatomy,
That's fear.
what's that? It's not. Yeah, it's not for me. It's not a fear. I get this like I want to Hulk smash it. Like if it's
You have a fear of small holes, but how does that affect your sex life?
Well, I mean, it's only really one at a time you can work with. It's if she's got a whole cluster down there, you better
Okay.
check out what planet you're on. I guess. I don't know. That's good. No, it's just a weird thing, and people go on the internet and they start looking at pictures and they start reading other people's stuff and they start focusing on it more and exacerbating the problem. And these are people who don't need to be underlining and becoming their phobia. And the whole fear porn thing kind of does the same thing. Like it can take a curious person and turn them into a, if they haven't been looking into it that long, they're kind of what we call waking up. Although I'm not really into that terminology anymore. But when you're in the middle of that, if you're in the beginning of that, you can seem a little bit eccentric to people around you who may not know what it is you're talking about. Like when you say a ruling elite, we've probably come to terms with that in our heads, long ago. But other people maybe get the feeling, but they've not had it underlined for them. I don't know. You're a really nice interviewer. I don't know. Is there ever a time when you don't feel like being on camera? Like, do you ever have to shoot that show and you're just like, crap, not this again?
All the time. I think it's gotten much. It's gotten easier. I'm much more relaxed at doing it. But to be honest, kind of like we were talking about with the shyness as a kid. I didn't necessarily start out with the intention of being on camera, of acting or presenting. Frankly, that all started with. I guess it started with Greystone, really, because during high school and college, I wasn't interested in pursuing acting. I was much more into writing and focusing on directing. And then when I made my film Greystone Park, which was, it came out because it was a real experience. My friend Alex Wraith introduced me to this massive mental hospital in New Jersey. and we started ghost hunting, and came back with a pretty exciting experience that I started writing into a script form. And in the process of getting the film made, we realized, it makes more sense given the style and the authenticity of the piece that I play myself and direct it. So that was really my foray into acting as a actually like with the intention of it, as opposed to just because my father put me in a movie, right?
Right.
So from there, I got more comfortable in front of camera. I opened myself up to this idea of hosting like conspiracy theory, and then yeah, I mean, I was on show programs like Bill O'Reilly and Piers Morgan because I had accepted Islam, which was really surprising to some people. I don't know. I guess it's like communism nowadays. People have this phobia of anything that's foreign to their culture. So, um,
I think it's cool, man. It seems
so
like you actually, I mean, to me, it just says you actually looked into something and decided that whatever it was in you melded with that in some way. So, I mean, it's nobody's business, really. I feel like all that is between you and whatever it is that's on the other side of all of this.
mhm. Right. So what happens is, in the context of doing hosting gigs, I'm sorry, in the context of doing interview gigs, I got more comfortable with being on camera, and that then led to hosting uh, Buzzsaw, right, as an interview program, and Buzzsaw led me to watching the Hawks on RT, where now I can do a show on a daily basis live and present and give my opinions and not really feel so sort of camera shy as I would have certainly 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah, I had somebody inbox me the other day and ask me about camera shyness and how they can, get past something. And I gave them some tips. But like there are a lot of people I think that have a desire to share what's inside them with other people, but they don't. They look at other people who are really like if you watch, I don't know, some of these guys like Kevin Spacey or Al Pacino or some of these guys who just glove fit into these like even Kevin Spacey playing a cop on Saturday Night Live is just infinitely more believable than almost a real detective in a way, and they're better people than people, and so people compare themselves to that. um in the last well, in this hour, you're more than welcome to stay over the next hour. I know we're going to do the hour, and I know you're busy. You're more than welcome to stay, but the music will come up in about 15. So let's spend the rest of this 10 minutes talking about let's talk a little bit more about directing, and the next 10 minutes talking about offering solutions, because I like to give people an opportunity to not just bellyache about stuff, but also say what it is they think should be done to paint the world how they like it. So what advice would you give to somebody who was aspiring to act, direct, write, this sort of thing? How is it you can get past the enormity of the amount of content that comes out on a weekly basis?
Yeah, look, I'm not in the best position to advise anybody. I'm in the grind, struggling to get projects made one by one. It's a really difficult task. I mean, it's not. I don't think even for people who've had success that it's ever easy, because when you're dealing with the arts, it's not just the creative component. There's a tremendous business component, as we know, and that's why there are a lot of people that actually they can have tremendous success and they make movies for under $1 million or $1 million, and they can just churn it out, and it can be junk, frankly, it can be schlock, but they can still, because of the nature of selling things internationally, they can still make profit enough to keep going, right? So there is this element of what kind of an artist are you? Are you someone who just wants to go and try to make money and jump into the machinery of it and make things that are commercial enough to sell, right? Or do you actually have the artistic sensibility that you want to do something that's meaningful and can be great, but can also fail, and spend years of your life suffering to maybe not have the success that you're looking for? I think it just starts with, first of all, what you are, what your strengths are, and trying to kind of, how do you say, build upon the overall craft of storytelling. So even when I talk to actors or people that are I say they want to be in different aspects, or directors at different aspects. I say, look, go to the essential element, which is writing. Can you write or get someone to write you a script, develop something, have a story that you can ultimately build from and package? And then, as an actor, it's much easier to play a role that you've written or envisioned than it is to just go to auditions and hope somebody casts you in the right role.
Awesome advice. Yeah, just chip in, crack into it, pick up a camera, talk into it, upload it, say something, get mad about something, do a review on McDonald's, or I don't know, do
that's
anything.
That's a different aspect. That's an element of commentary, or let's say expressing yourself.
Right.
I'm all about as well, because that's what I'm doing, right? Like I'm doing hosting and presenting stuff, not really because the pay is great or that it's gonna be my future necessarily, but it just I feel like it's important to stay engaged in society, to have a voice, to feel that how do you say that we are still connected and integrated in a sense of not being isolated into our little realms of creative creative bubbles. You don't want to put yourself into a little bubble. You want to engage with society. You want to interact and hear stories, and that will inspire your own creativity, I think.
Excellent. And the storytelling thing, movies or stories, people forget that sometimes. They get lost in the CGI or the actors or whatever's going on screen, or the imagery itself, which is, there's nothing wrong with any of that. That's what movies are there for. But it is about the story. If you look at anything, any commercial, anything that you think was impromptu, probably was not. Most of it is even commercials, even a little 30-second spot in the middle of the night. It's a story, some kind of story. Might be boring, but that's great. My brain is assimilating all that. It's kind of hard to talk and do that at the same time. So let's jump over to the problems that exist. And Americans have American people problems. South Americans, same thing. It's different everywhere, but everybody has this one problem, and that one problem would be that too few a number of people are making the decisions for a great big huge number of people.
Right.
What are some of the things that people can do to, in their own lives? Maybe they have a 9 to 5. Maybe they can't. Maybe they can't do. They can't jump off the cliff and try to parachute down, and hopefully they make it as an entertainer. What are some things people can do in their own time at home or on the way to work to change the world around them and to change themselves? It's okay, man. It's a tough question. It's like we're trying to get you to be a cheerleader a little bit, and that feels weird because you're a humble guy. But
this is guru stuff. I mean, this is like, change your world.
But we look up to you, Sean. Please tell us how to live our lives.
Right? I mean, it's.
I ask everybody that question. If that's any, you can go back and listen to the interviews. I ask everybody that same question. You can pass. We could spend the next 10 minutes just shooting the shit. It doesn't matter.
No, I mean, look. Yes, there is a tremendous power structure. One thing that's going to ultimately overturn that power structure, I hope, is a certain decentralization of power, and that comes through things like bringing your economy back to the local community. There are going to be new platforms and abilities for us to invest locally, right, in the brands that we use, and shopping, growing foods closer to home, employing people closer to home, not with these transnational corporations that have no allegiance to any country and just feed on, how do you say that utilize currency manipulations and whatnot to find the cheapest labor in foreign places. I think there's ways of refocusing our mind to come back to our communities, to our networks of people that we're in touch with, of supporting each other, and also, and at the same time, I think that traveling is tremendously important, because it is healthy for us to see different cultures, to hear different languages, to experience spirituality from different perspectives and different religions. That's how we are going to continue to grow as human beings. even if I say we need to decentralize at the same time as far as our roots are concerned, our grounding and our health. But we need to basically, as they say, to think globally but act locally.
And you said it. The word local is the one thing that I keep complaining about lately that seems to have disappeared from the discourse is local. There seemed to be a big push, and not just for food, but for other commodities as well, and also with things like entertainment. Like, don't spend $180 to go watch that band again. Go take half that money and go have drinks at the bar and tip the band and buy their CD and T-shirt. It means a lot more to them than it does people who are on tour. And go see a big show too. Why not? But take some money and spread it around with the people entertaining you locally. Good man. You were all hesitant to answer the question, and again, you gave the guru advice that we were looking for. I got one for you. So we've already broached all these subjects. You're kid who was in movies, and your dad makes movies, and people know who you are. And one thing I think everybody might be thinking is that it's hard to listen to you say that you're on the grind, because I'm doing the same thing in a different place, and it's hard to look at you and not think that you're a success. So I think thus far you have been a success. So I hope you can try to see yourself like that. I know it's hard looking, when, like me too. I've come a long way too. It's hard for me to look at it and go, okay, yeah, I did that. But yeah, you've done a bunch of stuff, man. So Sean's on the grind, guys. Pay attention to him. See his stuff. Buy his T-shirts. He has T-shirts, but definitely buy the DVDs or whatever. It does help out. So what I was going to ask you is, we've seen other sons of famous Hollywood people, Charlie Sheen, just absolutely wake up one day and just realize how cool their life is and just decide to just go absolutely ape shit. But we haven't seen any of this behavior from you. Good job. Why do you think that is? And that might be a rude question, because you obviously have had parents that care about you and you were raised in a loving environment, and that might be very obvious, but I don't know. It'd be kind of hard for me not to be like, man, motherfucker, my dad is, you know who my dad is? So what do you attribute your good behavior and your humble attitude?
I guess it's just who I am. I don't know. I don't know what people expect as far as celebrity kids are concerned. I guess they see Paris Hilton or others. They think that's normal, but I'm sure there are plenty of others. The problem is that you just don't hear from them as much, right? So the ones who are quiet, or they're just doing their things. They're working. They're either working in film or just following their own career paths in different directions. I don't think that it's like such a normal. How do you say? It's such a bizarre thing to be normal. I just think that we see demonstrations in media of people that are so eccentric and out there that we start to stereotype it as though that was the normal way for a Hollywood kid to act, right?
It does seem that way for us who aren't, we're not in it all the time. We don't see that side of it. So that's why I gotta ask, because you've given us quite a bit today. You delivered sevenfold, man. Do you have anything else? We still have about 5 minutes left. I don't know what else to say, man. You've definitely given us plenty to go back and listen to. That's for sure.
I hope so.
What are you working on now? Like, you're doing the RT show? You're doing Buzzsaw, and then you said that you have something else that you're. Oh no! There's the music. Oh my god!
Yeah, Union Bound is the film coming out April 22nd that I'm in. It's a really good Civil War program. So I would suggest. Yeah. Check it out. Yeah,
check that out. Sean, you are one cool dude. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. You're more than welcome to stick around, but we're going to take a break here. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be right back.